Birth of an Alliance. Author's note. Almost every class's storyline written so far converges at this point. Just for the record, these storylines include Explorers, Cygnus Knights, Iran, Evan, Mercedes, Luminous, Resistance, Demon, and Xenon. The only exceptions are the Grandest classes, which joined the Alliance sometime after its formation. This was actually one of my favorite sections to write about because it felt so satisfying to have each class alliance quest fit seamlessly into the next. I complain a lot about how this game has a lot of plot holes, but I have to admit that the writers did a pretty decent job with this one. Before the Explorer's storyline revamp, the formation of the Alliance took place before the unsealing of the Black Mage. However, the revamp now places the Alliance's formation to be set shortly after the return of the Black Mage. I've complained about this several times before, but I really hate this change, not only because I had to spend the better part of a week tediously reorganizing all of the content and the several hundred hyperlinks on the site, but also because the only way that I was able to reconcile the conflicting changes was by separating out the level 75 Alliance prequest for all classes and moving them to this section. What this means is that I had previously rearranged this guide such that the level 75 quests naturally converged for all classes before I covered future quests. What now happens is that I've covered quests like Luminous meeting with the Black Mage, which took place at level 130 in a previous section, and then placed the level 75 quests chronologically after that quest. While it doesn't make sense from a gameplay point of view for a level 75 quest to take place after a level 130 quest, it does fit the chronology for the purposes of this guide. As rumors began spreading from the Temple of Time about the Cygnus Knight's betrayal in the Gate to the Future, Cygnus grew increasingly worried as many began to voice their doubts about her ability to lead. Cygnus began wondering what could be done and asked Neinhard to arrange a royal meeting between herself and Mercedes. At the meeting, Cygnus asked Mercedes for her counsel, not only as a fellow royal, but also as someone who had once faced the Black Mage. She told Mercedes that she had recently been plagued by nightmares, and that she had come to realize that the Cygnus Knights couldn't defeat the Black Mage alone. However, she also realized they would be unstoppable if the rest of the Maple world stood alongside them. Because of this, she was planning on creating a worldwide alliance and asked Mercedes for her opinion. Mercedes confessed that it would be difficult to accomplish if the people of the Maple world couldn't look past their differences. However, she told Cygnus that despite it being difficult, it was what Maple world needed. She explained that centuries ago she had been forced to watch Maple World fall into ruin because its people couldn't look past their own selfish desires. In present day, however, she believed that Cygnus would bring about a new era of strength to defeat the Black Mage, and so she supported Cygnus's decision. Cygnus thanked Mercedes for her insight and invited her to the upcoming conference that she was planning to host. While continuing their training, the Cygnus Knight was contacted by Neinhardt, who explained that the Empress was on the brink of making an important decision. Before she did, however, she wanted to counsel the council of each of her knights, and so all of the Cygnus Knights had been ordered to return to Erev immediately. The knight reported to Cygnus, who thanked them for returning to see her. She told them she was afraid that despite everything that they had done, the Black Mage's threat continued to grow. She also confessed that she hadn't been as strong of a leader as the Maple World needed. With the Blackwings still holding Edelstein, and rumors of Orchid's return, the enemy continued to grow stronger, while the rifts between Arev and the Resistance grew wider than ever, with even the explorers beginning to lose their trust in her. She confessed that she was terrified about whether she could face the Black Mage and save Maple World, and whether she even deserved to be the Empress in the first place. However, she apologized for her hesitancy and told them that she needed to act instead of ruminate. She then asked them to go to Victoria Island and collect reports from Hersha and Matthias. two of Arev's informants. In Alinea, the knight collected Hersha's reports and asked him about the state of Victoria Island. Hersha explained that Victoria Island was engulfed in chaos from the Black Wings, and that it would take more than even the Resistance and the Cygnus Knights combined to successfully oust the Black Wings from Edelstein. In Kerning City, Matthias told them that he had returned after surveying southern Assyria, where he had learned that Ariant was suffering under tyranny and Minar Forest was being plagued by monsters. He added that though their primary enemy was the Black Mage, the Cygnus Knights had other problems that were important to address as well. After collecting both reports, the knight returned to Cygnus and told her what both informants had explained. Cygnus thanked them and explained that she realized now that the Cygnus Knights alone could not protect Maple World. Though she had grappled with the idea, Cygnus asked them to tell Neinhardt that she had made up her mind about creating an alliance. Neinhardt thanked them for bringing Cygnus's decision and asked them to help arrange the first continental conference. He explained that they would invite the explorers, the resistance, and the heroes. Though there was no single leader of the explorers, he told the knight that Athena Pierce was highly respected amongst the community, as she had personally lived through the tyranny of the Black Mage. Neinhardt hoped that she would understand the need for the alliance. Regarding the resistance, he explained that Claudine led the movement, though he was unsure of whether the resistance would accept the invitation. In regards to the heroes, he explained that they had faced the Black Mage centuries ago, and though they were merely individuals, they represented far more than that, which would bring legitimacy to the alliance. Neinhardt then told the knight to meet with the resistance, while others would invite Athena and the heroes. Author's note. In the old Cygnus Knight storyline, you got the choice to pick between inviting the resistance, the explorers, and Iran. I ended up doing the Alliance prequest 3 times on 3 different Cygnus Knights in order to record all the different paths when I initially wrote this section. Neinhardt emphasized the importance of the mission and explained that he was entrusting it to them because of their ties to the Resistance. Meanwhile, in Edelstein, Claudine reached out to the Resistance member and told them that Vita had gone missing. As she doubted that someone in her frail condition could have destroyed the cell door, Claudine feared that the Blackwings might have discovered the secret plaza. She begged them to go to the Vern mines in order to see whether Vita had gone there. She also asked them to convince Vita to come back, if possible, believing that Vita would listen to a close friend. The Resistance member rushed to the Vern mines, where they found Vita standing at the entrance with a dazed expression. Vita then monotonously declared that all enemies of the Blackwings must be destroyed, and summoned Blackwing's henchmen to attack the Resistance member. After defeating them, the Resistance member tried to snap Vita out of her daze, but nothing that they said seemed to work. Just then, Glimmer arrived to see what was causing Vita's delay. The Resistance member demanded to know what he had done to Vita, to which Glimmer replied that the creature had completed its mission and was awaiting its next orders. The Resistance member snapped at Glimmer not to treat Vita like a robot, to which Glimmer clarified that she wasn't a robot, but rather a perfect brainwashed slave. He explained that he had called her back as it had been some time since he had given her a checkup, but he was pleasantly surprised that she had brought the Resistance member along as well. Though he yearned to use them as his new lab rat, he knew that Hiver wouldn't allow it. However, he still decided to run one small experiment and told them to take the road behind the mine to his lab, promising to return Vita if they made it. He also warned that the guards would be dangerous and recommended that they bring as many friends as possible for backup. The Resistance member rushed back to Claudine and explained that not only was Vita innocent, but Glimmer had been using her for his schemes. Claudine apologized for suspecting Vita, but she told them that it was too dangerous to go after her, since she couldn't spare any agents to back up the Resistance member. After arguing back and forth, Claudine finally agreed to let them go after Vita, but she warned them that no one would be able to rescue them, or Vita, if things went wrong. Claudine then wondered to herself whether she should have accepted the Cygnus Knight's help earlier. Around the same time, the knight arrived to meet with Claudine and attempted to give her Cygnus's letter, but Claudine refused and claimed that she wouldn't accept any correspondence from Arev. However, the knight was persistent, and though Claudine acknowledged that they were strong and willing to do what was right, she claimed that she couldn't trust the rest of Arev, especially when Cygnus remained unwilling to come down from her perch of safety and fight for the cause. The knight protested that the Cygnus Knights had made sacrifices, but an annoyed Claudine asked whether they even knew the meaning of sacrifice. She then asked them to accept a dangerous mission without hesitation. After the knight accepted, she told them to go into the Vern mine and identify the location of a laboratory where a particular child was being held, as the resistance had no idea of the mine's internal structure. Author's note, she's asking us to look for Vita before the resistance member goes in alone, although she doesn't specify Vita's name in the Cygnus Knight storyline. Despite knowing that they were going in alone into enemy territory with incomplete information, the knight accepted and entered the mine. Inside, they navigated through a maze and soon encountered several children locked in a cell. Though the knight freed them, they realized that they had entered a prison, not a laboratory, and the fact that there were multiple children when Claudine had only specified one meant that they were not the ones whom she had asked them to find. Nevertheless, the knight escorted the children back to safety. After Claudine treated them, she told the knight that the children would be fine. She explained that the Blackwings had kidnapped the children from other regions of Mapleworld for experiments. The knight apologized for being unable to find the laboratory, but Claudine told them that it was fine, adding that it was perhaps even better, as it wasn't too late for those children, though she refused to elaborate on her cryptic words. She then agreed to read the letter and told them that she would discuss it with the other resistance leaders first. Meanwhile, the resistance member entered Glimmer's lab, where they found Vita locked up. Though they were glad to see that she had come back to her senses, Vita admonished them for having come after her, explaining that Glimmer had wanted as many resistance members to arrive in order to finish them all off at once, which was why he had told them to bring friends. She reminded them that she was Glimmer's test subject, and that even if she were to escape with them, her presence would only cause more trouble for the resistance. The resistance member told her that they didn't care about any of that, and the only thing that mattered to them was that she was their friend. They told her not to blame herself for the situation, reminding her that it was all Glimmer's fault. Vita was touched and called them a good friend, but she explained that she couldn't go with them, as Glimmer had rigged a bomb to her cage, which would kill her and anyone around her once it detonated. However, she told them that she had a town return scroll that she had hoped to use in order to return back to Edelstein, but as she didn't want to cause any more trouble for them, she had resolved to stay in the lab and die alone. Those seeing them made her miss Edelstein and all of her friends in the Resistance. Vita knew that she was a danger to everyone around her as long as Glimmer controlled her. The Resistance member pleaded with her that they would be able to undo the brainwashing, and though Vita conceded that they could try, she believed that it would be too dangerous. She told them that she would be happy as long as she could save them, and that she was counting on them to defeat the Blackwings. She then made the Resistance member promise not to let Glimmer do to anyone what he had done to her, after which she thrust the return scroll upon them, teleporting them away right before her cage exploded and killed her. The Resistance member returned to the secret plaza and sadly told Claudine about what had happened. Claudine immediately blamed herself, believing that she should have kept a closer eye on Vita and realized what Glimmer had been up to. She also regretted that she had been too prideful to accept the Cygnus Knight's help. as she had believed that the resistance could have taken down the Blackwings on its own. Though in the end, Glimmer had still beaten them, and Vita had paid the price. She then asked the resistance member for some time alone to reflect, adding that they likely needed the same. Some time later, Athena called the 4 explorers to the Bowman Instructional School. Author's note: Pathfinder gets a slightly modified version of this quest, in which she gets introduced to Tess, Rondo, and Olive, as she doesn't follow the main explorer storyline and has never met them before. She explained that she wanted them to meet the heroes in order to consult with them, as the ones who had originally sealed the Black Mage might have knowledge on what to do now that he has returned. Olive immediately asked to speak with Mercedes, a fellow archer, while Rondo decided that he wanted to meet with Phantom, a fellow thief. Tess decided to speak with Iran, as he remembered how she had protected them until the very end when the Black Mage had invaded, even going so far as to leave the escape ship in order to find a missing child who had fallen behind. The explorer wondered how old Tess was for him to have recalled memories of Iran in the past, but they nevertheless agreed to go meet Luminous. Author's note: There's a continuity error created by Rondo volunteering to meet Phantom. Even though Phantom has been freed from the ice at this time, no one aside from True should know that he's awake, since this quest is set before Phantom's debut when he stops Hilla in a rev. This quest was actually adopted from the original storyline, which has the explorers meet the heroes shortly after the Black Mage destroys Maple Island in order to learn how they can use the Seal Stone to fix the ruined land. A feature of the original storyline was that the story's path would often change slightly based on your job, meaning that each job got a different series of quests. For this quest, warriors met with Iran, magicians met with Evan, etc. Pirates met Luminous, since no one knows that Shade exists. That quest was set well after Phantom made his debut, and so there were no continuity errors at the time. The explorer traveled to the forests of Alinea and found a Centrobo guarding the area. After defeating it, Luminous appeared and began questioning them. The explorer explained why they had come, and asked if the hero could reseal the Black Mage, since they had all been freed from the ice. However, Luminous told them that it would be impossible for 2 reasons. He first explained that he had lost his power after emerging from the ice, and assumed that the same fate had befallen the other heroes. He also explained that Frood had used the seal stones to bind the Black Mage to eternity, not for eternity, and that the seals of time had fractured the fabric of time in Maple World. He confessed that using the seal spell again could have catastrophic consequences. Disheartened that it was impossible to stand up to the Black Mage, even with the heroes and the seal stones, the explorer returned to Athena Pierce. There, the 4 summarized their findings and concluded that they had no means of defending Maple World from the Black Mage. Athena reassured them that they wouldn't be defeated so easily, and explained that she would call on them again when the time came. She then asked the explorer to stay behind as the other explorers left, and explained that Empress Cygnus had sent a letter proposing to create an alliance between the major world powers of Maple World. She then asked the explorer for their opinion on the alliance. The explorer told her that they felt responsible for the revival of the Black Mage, and asked if they could really fight the Black Mage while they remained so weak. Athena reassured them that they could very well become a great hero who protected them all, but even if they couldn't, every hero had people standing behind them who all worked together to protect what they loved. She declared that it was a good time to stand together in order to face the Black Mage, and asked them to join her at the upcoming conference. Author's note: The original Alliance prequest for explorers had you deliver a piece of driftwood to Kieran, who found that it contained Guaru's mark. You then brought the wood to Athena Pierce, who purified the relic, and determined that it was a warning from Guaru that the Black Mage was about to return. A few days later, Athena tells you that she received the letter from Cygnus, and though she worries that the Alliance would place restrictions on the freedom of all of the explorers, she believed that the Alliance was necessary in order to prevent Mapleworld from falling into the Black Mage's hands. The Alliance was formed before the Black Mage broke free of his seal in the original chronology, which is why it made sense for Guaru to warn us about his impending return. Meanwhile, Lilin contacted Iran and asked her to return to Rien. There, she excitedly showed Iran the invitation that the Cygnus Knights had given her, and explained that it was proof that Arev had recognized Iran as a true hero. Believing it best that Iran went with someone who recognized her as a hero, Lilin suggested that she asked Athena Pierce to accompany her, as she was a well-respected figure in Mapleworld. Iran asked Lilin if she would also come to the conference, but Lilin was unsure about whether she ought to be there. While she debated about going, Athena agreed to accompany Iran, and told her that Mercedes would also be there. As Iran had lost her memories, she asked Athena who Mercedes was, to which she merely told Iran that Mercedes was a friend. Soon after, Lilin told Iran that she should come with them as well. Sometime later, Claudine reached out to the Resistance members and told them that she had been thinking about the Blackwing's motivation for everything that they had done. Though Glimmer presented himself as a regular scientist, she believed that he was hiding a dark secret. As she wanted to know what Glimmer was hoping to gain by experimenting on live humans, she asked the Resistance member to go back to Glimmer's lab in order to look for clues. There they found part of his research diary and brought it to Claudine. After reading it, she realized that Glimmer was trying to make some sort of superhuman by using magic in order to make ordinary people stronger. She then read them a passage from the diary. Upon completion of the experiment, the subject appeared to be successful. Visually, it appeared to be an exact replica of the One. I named it Vita, thinking it would be my greatest achievement. However, after multiple tests, I am now certain the experiment was a failure. It exhibits no extraordinary capabilities. It is, in fact, a quite ordinary human female. The subject will be purged during the next clean cycle. I must go back to the formula. Author's note. Although it's not completely clear on what Glimmer's goals here were with Vita, she seems to be a host body for for Lotus's consciousness. Glimmer knows that Lotus's body is far superior to that of any normal human, since it was created by the Black Mage, and so he seems to be trying to replicate Lotus's constitution by experimenting on Vita. However, she doesn't have any powers, which is to be expected, since Lotus's powers come from being a spirit of darkness, and later the Wing Master's power that the Black Mage gives him to replace his ordinary or his original spirit powers. I also have to wonder why Vita was described as an exact replica of Lotus if she was female. It's true that she's a perfect replica aside from a gender. It makes more sense that she should look like Lotus's twin, Orchid, based on all the inconsistent pronoun usage with Lotus's storyline. I wonder if he was originally conceived as a female before they decided that he would be male. Regarding its Regardless, it's unknown whether these experiments were merely a front to deceive Orchid, or whether they actually had a role in his Xenoroid project. There's a quest in Xenon's storyline which suggests that Glimmer had been using alchemy in his Xenoroid research, and since it's clear that Vita and the other experiments in the Vern mine had been augmented by magic, I wonder whether he had been using Vita and the others as test subjects for him to perfect his alchemy techniques so that he could apply them to his Xenoroids. Based on the note, Claudine realized that Glimmer was likely taking orders from somebody else. She was also troubled by the reference to the One, and asked them to go back to the lab in order to find any other parts of the diary. Upon returning to the lab, the Resistance member heard Glimmer talking to Orchid. He was telling her that there was no need to check up on him in person, promising that his research would be finished soon. However, Orchid snapped at him. claiming that Arcarium's plan was well underway, and that she couldn't let him beat her to Lotus. Author's note: this is likely a reference to Arcarium's plan with the Mystic Gates. The exchange makes it seem as though she and Lotus are planning to do something for the Black Mage, and that they're competing with Arcarium to finish it. This might be because Nexon hadn't settled on the whole backstory of the Black Wings. We know for a fact that she betrays the Black Mage after Black Heaven, but we don't really know whether she still had an affiliation with him prior to that, as it sounds like the commanders had just left her to do her own thing, as though she were a little kid playing in a sandbox while the adults were doing the real work. She reminded Glimmer that he had claimed that he had only been waiting for Vita to finish her mission, to which he explained that there had been complications, and that it wasn't easy creating a creature as powerful as what she was asking for, though he promised that he would have it ready soon. She told them that he had better be right, as it was the very reason why she had formed the Blackwings in the first place. Glimmer was taken aback by that news, as well as the Resistance member, who realized that Orchid was the founder of the Blackwings. Author's note: this is a continuity error, as Glimmer already knew from the beginning why Orchid had founded the Blackwings. Glimmer told her that she had spent so many years waiting that a few more days couldn't make any difference. He assured her that once he finished, the resulting creature would be more powerful than herself and Lotus put together. Just then, they heard a noise coming from where the Resistance member was hiding, who realized that it was time to leave. After returning back to the secret plaza, they explained the situation to Claudine, who told them that it was huge news, as they now knew that the founder of the Blackwings was also a commander of the Black Mage. She explained that when the Resistance had first been formed, they had no intention of fighting the Black Mage, but she now realized that to face one was to face the other. Claudine then called the Resistance members to a secret meeting with the other Resistance leaders. She explained that the reason why they had gathered was because the Resistance had been invited to join the Continental Conference in Erev in order to prepare for the Black Mage's return. Though many of them were in favor of blowing off the Cygnus Knights, Claudine asked them to remember Vita, as well as the knowledge that the Blackwing's founder was a commander. Elix reminded them that they had previously decided that the so-called founder didn't exist, but Claudine assured him that Orchid definitely existed, and that she had proven to be a commander by the Resistance members' intel. She explained that the purpose of Glimmer's experiments was for Orchid to create a superhuman monster, and that it was all for the larger purposes of reviving the Black Mage. She then wondered what would drive someone to such evil, and what it was about the Black Mage that inspired such loyalty. Brighton commented that it sounded like Claudine believed that they should join the Alliance. Claudine told him that it was a difficult decision, but if the Black Mage was involved, they needed all the help they could get. Elix asked whether they could trust Cygnus, while Brighton asked if the Resistance was really so weak that they needed to ask their enemies for help. Claudine reminded them that they weren't ready to face the Black Mage, and though they couldn't trust Cygnus, they had no other choice. She added that she didn't want another tragedy like Vita to befall upon them again. Belle took Claudine's side and asked the others whether they hated the Cygnus Knights so much that they couldn't look past their anger to fight the Black Mage. Elix agreed that though he didn't like the Knights, they needed to defeat the Blackwings. Checky added that they could always leave the Alliance if a Rev turned on them. Brighton begrudgingly agreed, and with a unanimous vote, they agreed to attend the conference. Claudine then asked the Resistance member to deliver their response to a Rev. Cygnus greeted them in earnest and told them that she was looking forward to their attendance. Back in Edelstein, Claudine also called the demon and Xenon separately and informed them of the Continental Conference, which she asked them to attend as members of the Resistance. Meanwhile, Evan and Myrrh arrived at Edelstein in order to get revenge on Hiver. Myrrh suggested storming the Vern mine and attacking all of the Blackwings inside, but Evan told him that he didn't want to attack random people just because they worked for the Blackwings, reminding Myr that they themselves used to be part of the Black Wings until recently. They decided to go undercover in order to learn Hiver's location, and asked a watchman named Baven where Hiver was by making up a story that they owed him money. Baven agreed to contact Hiver in exchange for Nepenteth's honey from Orbis. After bringing him the honey, Baven told Evan that he had arranged for Evan to meet Hiver in the Vern mines. Inside the mine, however, Blackwing henchmen ambushed them, and Evan realized that Baven and Hiver had set up a trap. After defeating the henchmen, a strange woman arrived and had a standoff with Evan, though she quickly realized that he was a civilian and disappeared. Evan and Myr also realized that she was likely an enemy of the Black Wings and left to go confront Faven. In town, however, they recognized Claudine as the same woman from the mine. After confronting her, she told them to meet her in Edelstein Park if they wanted to question her. There they both realized that they were on the same side, and so Evan asked if he and Myr could team up with her. However, Claudine told them that she couldn't trust them yet, as they might be a spy, or might be too weak. In order to have them prove themselves, she told them to take the secret route to Glimmer's laboratory and bring Blackwing's emblems from his henchmen. After they brought the emblems back, Claudine told them that even though they might have gotten them from their commanders, she felt as though she could trust them, not only because of their actions, but also because of the intelligence that the Resistance had stolen from the Blackwings, which detailed their dealings with the Onyx Dragons. She told them about the upcoming Continental Conference and asked them if they wanted to accompany her, to which Evan and Myr happily agreed. Sometime later, Agent N reached out to Luminous and told him that Cygnus had found out that they were working together and that she wanted to meet with him. Luminous traveled to Arev to meet with Cygnus, who asked him if he had been surprised by her invitation. He told her that he was surprised that she even knew him in the first place, as few seemed to remember the events of this time, or of his time. Cygnus explained that her family had always watched and waited, but added that it wasn't the reason she had asked him to meet. She told him that she was planning on forming an alliance in the hopes of uniting the various factions of Maple World, despite their differences. Though there had only been 5 who stood against the Black Mage centuries ago, she told him that there were hundreds who stood together in the present day. Luminous was impressed by Cygnus's resolve, and told her that she reminded him of Empress Aria, adding that he wondered what Phantom would think of her. Believing that her cause was noble, he asked her to call upon him whenever she was in need of his powers. After receiving unanimous confirmations, the First Continental Conference took place, and the Maple Alliance was created.